Hey guys, this is Shiny Zekrom, and welcome back to Week 4 of the SBL in Season 3. I am your Florida Flygons coach Zappe, and we are back for our Week 4 Team Builder, which is going to be against the Arctic Arcanines. As a quick refresher, my team is Mew, Mandibuzz, Cobalion, Darmanitan, Frostlass, Samurott, Mega Gardevoir, Xurkitree as my Z user, Buzzwole, Silvally, and Porygon Z. My opponent's team, Arctus and the Arctic Arcanines, is Ferrothorn, none other than Arcanine, Landorus Incarnate, which, by the way, cannot use Sheer Force, it can only be Sand Force, Latios as a Z user, Mega Gyarados, Xatu, Togekiss, Combusken, Registeel, Magneton, and Umbreon. Pretty scary team, I would say. The biggest threats I'm fearing would definitely be Ferrothorn with its defensive power, Latios for sure, Togekiss because of its famous flinch hexing, and even Registeel too, to be honest. Very bulky Pokemon there. But with keeping both in mind, I have constructed what I think will be the 6 Pokemon that will help bring me to victory this week. And first off, we're going to start out with Workout the Buzzwole, holding Leftovers, ability of Beast Boost with the moveset of Ice Punch, Leech Life, Drain Punch, and Bulk Up. Alright. So, with the combo of Ice Punch, Leech Life, and Drain Punch, I think there's only 2 Pokemon I don't hit super effectively. One of them is Arcanine, and the other, I believe, one of the others would be Gyarados before it Mega Evolves, but I have Ice Punch in that case. And Combusken. Yeah, those are the only couple, really, are Arcanine and Combusken, and Gyarados before it Mega Evolves. Once Gyarados Mega Evolves, though, it is weak to me. Alright, so that kind of running over my moves. Ice Punch is to mainly have something to be able to counter his Landorus Eye, but also helps me against Togekiss and Xatu, so, say if I ran Earthquake over Ice Punch, Leech Life, Dream Punch, and Earthquake, pretty much any flying type really stalls that, and Landorus Eye as well, pretty much stalls that pretty hard. So, I went with Ice Punch instead, so I actually had something super effective, and I think it actually got me like an additional 1 Mon super effective. So like I said, really, with this set, it's only 2 Pokemon that I'm not super effective against. Bulk Up. This is to help Buzzwole this week because he is going to be my defensive tank. He has a lot of firepower on both ends of the attacking spectrum, but Buzzwole I wanted to run a little bit more defensively because if I can set up Bulk Ups, I'm actually doing a lot of damage because fighting is Arctus's main weakness throughout his team with, I believe, 5 in total once Gyarados Mega Evolves, with Ferrothorn, Mega Gyarados, the Registeel, Magneton, and Umbreon. All are weak to fighting. And without Mega Gyarados being Mega Evolved, it's still 4. And Ice Punch is the same thing, 4 is weak to that. And if Gyarados Mega Evolves, there's also 3 weak to Leech Life. 3. And then Bulk Up, of course, to become a little bit more defensive, but also adding a little bit more attack power. And Beast Boost is going to raise my defense if it gets to that point. The EVs I ran are 248 HP, 116 attack, and 144 defense with Impish Nature. What these EVs do is 248 HP and 144 Impish will actually just allow me to live a Choice Banded Arcanine Flare Blitz, and yeah, that's pretty much what it's for, and then the rest is into attack to also help out to try and get Bulk Up, get it rolling a little bit. And with that, we're going to move on to our next teammate of the week, Diantha, the Shiny Mega Gardevoir, which is by its regular Gardevoir holding the Gardevoir away. The ability of Trace with the moveset of Calm Mind, Hyper Voice, Hidden Power Fire, and Thunderbolt. With this moveset, Hyper Voice is pretty much just as the main stab. There's only 1 Pokemon, I believe, 2, in the entirety of Arctus's team who is who are resistant to this move here. Now, the thing about that, though, with Hyper Voice, those 2 resisting it being Magneton, Registeel, and Ferrothorn, so sorry, 3. All of them are going to be weak to Hidden Power Fire, so add that in. And then Thunderbolt was to also have something to against the Togekiss, the Xatu, and the Gyarados regular and Mega, both weak to Electric. You know, without its Mega being there, it's weaker to Thunderbolt. And then Calm Mind is to be able to help deal damage a little bit better, but also become more of a specially defensive wall, which is what I'm mainly going with Mega Gardevoir this week. Now, sorry, allow me to do something real quick. Yeah. So the Hyper Voice, like I said, and Arcanine resists, I guess, but then we have Thunderbolt for it, but Arcanine's pretty much the biggest counter to this Gardevoir, but we have other ways to deal with it. Like I said, the Hyper Voice is the main point of stab, and Mega Gyarados, as well as the Umbreon, are both weak to it as well. We have the Hidden Power Fire. This helps us against, the 3 steel types of Registeel, Magneton, and Ferrothorn. And Thunderbolt is to help out, like I said, Mega Gyarados, Xatu, and Togekiss. And just to kind of have overall, like, as wide of a variety of moveset as I could have this week. Now, my EBs are 248 in HP, 148 in special defense with the Calm Nature, and 112 special attack. The 248 HP and 148 Calm Nature, I can live a Choice Scarf or even Life Orb Shadow Ball from the Latios with just over half of my HP, meaning it will have to 3-hit KO, and I can easily get a revenge kill with Hyper Voice at that point if, it's a fully specially invested Latios. It's a little bit more specially defensive. It could end up living Hyper Voice with over half its HP, but I highly doubt he's going to run Latios like that this week. He could easily run better sets. And then the 112 in special attack is, of course, to help me out with my damage output a little bit better. And if I forgot to mention, Diethna is female and shiny. Okay. With that, we're going to move on to our next teammate this week. Titano the Darmanitan, which is Choice Banded this week, male, not shiny, with the ability Sheer Force, with the moveset Flare Blitz, Superpower, Earthquake, and Rock Slide. Here we go. So, the Flare Blitz, of course, is my main point of stab, and even if Ferrothorn is fully physically defensive and has max HP, or 248 HP to have odd, it does not live a Flare Blitz from a Choice Banded Darmanitan, no matter what. This also gives me something super effective against the Registeel and Magneton, both of which are not going to take a Flare Blitz very well, if at all. And that's my main point of stab. And I know Arcanine is there, so that's why I have Earthquake here, but I'll go into that in a second. Superpower. This can also be a little bit important because this gives me something super effective against the Mega Gyarados, where if I Superpower it once and Superpower it again, even at -1, a Choice Band Superpower, -1 after one hit does kill the Mega Gyarados again, if I was to use Superpower again. Superpower also gives me something against Registeel and Magneton, a couple different moves for those two, and then it actually does give me something super effective on the Umbreon. Now, the Earthquake, this is where Arcanine comes in. I mainly hit Earthquake on because this also, it'll finally hit the Arcanine. I actually have something super effective for Combustion in case that comes. There's the Registeel, which I have another option for that, which has 3 different options now. It's really super effective against Magneton, and there's really only 2 things that stop this. Landorus Eye with Flying type and Latios with Levitate, and Gyarados before it Mega Evolves Xatu and Togekiss, I guess, too, sorry. But that's why we have Rock Slide. Rock Slide is going to help me against some of those things, like, at least gives me a neutral move against Latios to hit it. Gyarados before it Mega Evolves, even at -1, it's still, I would believe, take over half its HP from a Rock Slide, and it takes a really, really hefty amount of damage before another Rock Slide could end up killing it. This also adds something super effective against the Xatu and the Togekiss, so they can't just come in and completely wall this Darmanitan. Okay. So that's my moveset. The EBs we went this week are 252 in attack, 252 in speed with Jolly Nature, and 4 defense. 4 defense is to try and live a physical hit better, but with my defensive stats, it's not really going to happen. Now, you might be wondering, why did I go max speed? Why didn't I, not try something else? Now, here's why. The reason I went max speed this week with Jolly Nature is to allow myself to actually speed tie the Arcanine and Xatu if they were to go max speed and Jolly, Timid, whatever. The reason I want this is, say I was to predict, one of those two coming in. So say, oh, I'm predicting the Arcanine to come in because he's going to predict like a Flare Blitz and something. But if I can predict that, go for an Earthquake, I do over half to Arcanine even through Intimidate, and I can Earthquake it again instead. And if it's max speed Jolly, and we have a speed tie, Arcanine, the only way it can kill me is it has to be 252 Adamant Nature and has to have Choice Band item and has to have the move Bulldoze. If it does not have Bulldoze, there is not a single chance that the Arcanine can one-shot me if I was to happen to run into that speed tie. If we don't have a speed tie and Darmanitan ends up faster, well, that Earthquake is still going to do a lot of damage, if not be able to two-shot it, as I said. And, yeah. And like, if I didn't say, even if Arcanine intimidates Darmanitan, 2 EQs with 252 attack Choice Band does kill Arcanine. So, that is that, and that is the moveset and stuff for Darmanitan. We're going to move on. Porygon Z, we're bringing it back. We have Computer, the Porygon Z, holding Choice Specs, the ability Adaptability, Shiny, with the moves Tri-Attack, Thunderbolt, Hidden Power Fire, and Ice Beam. Okay. So, Tri-Attack is my main form of stab to be able to take Adaptability, and actually use it well. We have the Ferrothorn, Magneton, and Registeel that can resist us, but otherwise, everything else is going to take a hefty amount of damage from a Choice Specs Tri-Attack from an Adaptability Porygon Z. It's going to hurt. And I wanted, like I said, main form of stab to be able to take Adaptability as its ability to be able to use that. We have Thunderbolt. This helps us out against the Xatu, the Togekiss, and the Gyarados before and after it Mega Evolves, especially if it switches in and I predict it correct with a Thunderbolt, that Gyarados dies and it won't even get the chance to Mega Evolve if it comes. And if it Mega Evolves, it's still going to get pretty much two-shot unless it's fully specially defensive. Then we have Hidden Power Fire. This is to help us against the Steel types that would otherwise counter Tri-Attack and possibly counter Thunderbolt. Being mainly it's there for the Ferrothorn, the Registeel, and the Magneton. And then we have Ice Beam to be able to cover some of the other stuff that would resist some of the other moves, like the Landorus Incarnate, the Latios, another option for Xatu and Togekiss. And the only thing that really isn't weak to any of the moves would be Combuskin, Arcanine, and Umbreon, but they're all not really going to want to take Adaptability Tri-Attacks from a Choice Specs Porygon. So let's get into our EVs. We have 72 in HP, 252 Special Attack, and 184 Speed with Timid Nature. 184 Timid allows me to outspeed a Jolly Mega Gyarados by 1 point. Jolly 252 Speed Mega Gyarados, sorry. Of course, as much special attack as I can get with the 252 in Choice Specs, and 72 HP is really just there to kind of bulk out maybe another hit or two that I wouldn't be able to take otherwise, to be able to try and deal as much damage as I can with this thing. And with that, we're going to move on to our next team member. And this is the first time I'm ever really running a full support set. This is Experiment the Shiny Silvally, holding leftovers with the ability RKS system, although we're not going to be putting it to effect, spoilers, with Thunder Wave, Defog, Tailwind, and Ice Beam. Very interesting set, right? Well, here we go. So, the Thunder Wave is to be able to limit some of his threats, such as, if I can get a Thunder Wave on the Arcanine and slow it down, that would definitely ensure that Darmanitan would be able to outspeed it, even if it's, if it was a speed tie, Thunder Wave, I get to outspeed it. It could definitely cripple things like the Latios and the Mega Gyarados. I could even hinder the Togekiss as another option. The main thing I'd have to watch out for with this is Xatu and Magic Bounce. I really wish I could have ran Stealth Rocks, which, spoiler, I do not have this week. But Thunder Wave, I guess, is just the biggest way I wanted to cripple things. Like I said, the Landorus Eye is probably the biggest counter to this, as it ground type, immune to it. There's a Xatu with Magic Bounce, and Magneton is also immune. But this is why I have a couple other moves in it. So Defog is in case Arctus decides to run Stealth Rocks for himself. I want to be able to keep those out because I want to keep everybody as healthy as possible, and most specifically the Darmanitan. I want to keep it healthy because it is a very, very, very big asset to this team this week. The Tailwind is to be able to help with the speed of everybody. Here's why that moment where I ran the max speed on Darmanitan. If I get that Tailwind up, I then outspeed Arcanine, and even if he comes in with an Earthquake, boom, Earthquake. And if he tries to predict something else, I can always double switch and try and set myself better. And especially with Tailwind, he can easily fear that I could be faster than everything all of a sudden. That's why that's there. And then Ice Beam was to be able to add a little bit more coverage against the Landorus Eye, because I already had 3 either Hidden Power Fires or Fire moves in general on this team. And I really, up to this point, only had 2 things that had like an Ice move to be able to help cover Landorus Eye, Xatu, and Togekiss. This is why I decided to run Ice Beam. And this is so specific with this. So let's go into the EVs real quick, and then I'll talk about why I have Ice Beam. So we have 248 HP, 192 defense with Bold Nature, and 68 special attack. The 248 HP, 192 Bold Nature, I can live a Life Orb, Landorus, Max Attack, Superpower, and if he runs only 4 EVs and special defense, Silvally can actually, with the 68 special attack, one-shot it with Ice Beam. No way of living. But that's only if it has 4 special defense. If it has even like Assault Vest to completely counters, but I can still, two-shot it at that point. And that's why I have that. And our last member this week, which I'm hoping brings a very cool shine if we can have Tailwind support, Mystery the Mew. And the first time I'm ever running a Berry as a held item. The Mystery, the shiny Mew holding a Colbur Berry with the ability Synchronize, with the moveset Sword Stance, Earthquake, Ice Punch, and Drain Punch. So, the main reason I have Colbur Berry is for Mega Gyarados, but I'll get into that with EVs in a little bit. Let's go over the moveset. So obviously, as you can tell, this is going to be a physical Mew set this week. Running Sword Stance, being able to double my attack to 598 right off the bat, going to start dealing hefty damage. And if I have Tailwind up, with the speed that I went and then Tailwind, I'm going to be outspeeding everything at that point. So here we go. The Earthquake. This gives you something super effective against the Arcanine, Combuskin, Registeel, and Magneton. So we have 4 of his teammates right off the bat with the 1 move. We had Ice Punch. This gives us something super effective against the Landorus Incarnate, the Latios, Xatu, and Togekiss. So, right off the bat, that's 8 team members weak to it. And guess what? The last move is Drain Punch. This will give me something super effective against the Ferrothorn. Gives me something super effective on Gyarados once it Mega Evolves. And the last thing that I wasn't super effective on yet, Umbreon. So yes, with this Mew set, every one of Arctus' team members is weak to this. The only Mon that isn't is Gyarados before it Mega Evolves, but Ice Punch is still going to do a hefty amount of damage if I have a Sword Stance up. It will two-shot. So, let's get into the EVs then, since we've discussed the moveset. We have 252 in attack, 216 speed with Jolly Nature, and 40 defense. The 216 Jolly Mew outspeeds Arcanine and Xatu, max speed, timid, or Jolly, by 1 point. 252 in attack is to deal as much damage And with 40 defense in the Colbur Berry, if the Mega Gyarados is 252 Adamant Nature, Crunch will only do up to 56.5%. I outspeed it. I can set up a Swords Dance on it with absolutely no problem whatsoever. And I can Drain Punch back up for the sustain. And unless that Gyarados is very heavily invested into defense, Drain Punch is going to be doing a lot and sustaining a lot. And I'll have other ways later on to deal with Gyarados if I end up having, you know, if I have ending up not KOing it and having problems with it. I have stuff to deal with later. Otherwise, that is going to do it for the Team Builder this week, guys. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I will meet you guys back when it's time to fight Arctus. See you guys then.